They can't come out and say that Joe Biden is demented right now because they will have absolutely destroyed their credibility even further than it's already in the toilet. Anderson is such a liar, man. Anderson, it's been this way for 3 years, dude.
A crazy thing to expect the president to do.
Oh, it is for this president there, Jake. Hello. You guys knew that way before you had this debate on. Come on. Very interesting story from Tucker Carlson. Says he's got some pretty good sources out there that are telling him Joe Biden is on his way out. Tucker posted this at 12:46 a.m. July 1st. This was the first of a series of tweets that we'll take a look at. And it's also sort of corroborated by Bill O'Reilly. Remember that guy? Yeah, he came out and is saying the same thing. Here's what Tucker wrote. He said, from an unusually good source, Obama's tweet supporting Joe Biden was disingenuous. So what tweet is he talking about? Well, we do have that one pulled up here because Obama came out and said this. He said, bad nights happen, all right? Trust me, I know. He's referencing his debate with Romney. But this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself, talking about Trump. Between someone who tells the truth, who knows right from wrong and will give it to the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth for his own benefit. Now, last night didn't change that, and it's why so much is at stake in November. JoeBiden.com, Barack Obama. Remember me? Now, this is exactly what we expect. They can't come out and say that Joe Biden is demented right now because they will have absolutely destroyed their credibility even further than it's already in the toilet. Right now, they're trying to claw it all back. It's like something spilled over and they're trying to shove it back in. My credibility is splayed out all over the street. And Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper are trying to put it back in the jar because they look like morons because they told their audience for the last 3 years that Joe Biden was competent, capable, fully functional, and all the things. Now they're going, oh, we got busted. Everybody knows we're bona fide liars. And so now we're trying to fix this whole thing. But they can't admit that. They can't say, yeah, you're right. It's time for him to go. So they have to publicly say he's totally competent and then behind the scenes take it away from him. And he'll have to fight it every step of the way because if he fights it, that will maintain this facade of competency, right? So then when he's taken off, then everybody can rest easy, go, whew, right, he's out of there. But he'll maintain the competency veil throughout the end, and he'll be able to preserve some of his powers throughout the end, and then they'll just swap it out. So Barack Obama said that, and Tucker says, don't believe it for a minute, all right? Don't believe it. Obama's tweet supporting Joe Biden was disingenuous, okay? In private, Obama is telling people Biden can't win, and he is therefore in favor of an open convention. Obama will not say whom he supports, nor as of yesterday afternoon had he met personally with Biden to deliver the message. Relations between the Obamas and the Bidens have never been warm. At times, they've been hostile. But recently, they've deteriorated further, mostly due to Jill Biden. In the hours and days after the debate, she kept her husband cloistered away from anyone who might convince him to drop out. Jill Biden is the driving force behind her husband's re-election campaign, just as she was in 2020 when other family members, including Biden's sister Val, considered him too impaired to run. And why didn't he run in 2016 if he was the heir apparent under Barack Obama? Maybe because he was too far gone then. They're like, okay, you can't really know. It's Hillary's turn. So Joe, just good luck and bon voyage. But then Hillary lost. Joe Biden was the only other alternative. Tucker says the next generation of potential Democratic candidates understands all this as an opportunity and they're circling like vultures, particularly Gretchen Whitmer, big Gretch Rona out there in Michigan, who is promoting herself aggressively. Now, that was on July 1st, 12:46 a.m., just a few days after the debate, and Tucker came out and supplemented this very recently. He says, look, later that night on July 1st, Tucker came out and confirmed. He says, Biden is done. Bet on it. Too many prominent Democrats have suggested he's brain damaged. They can't walk that back. They have to remove him, and they will. The only question is when. If they're smart, they'll do it immediately. If Kamala is going to be the nominee, she might as well be the president first. That leaves the question of Trump and his sentencing on July 11th, which has also now shifted because of the immunity ruling. Biden's collapse makes this a much more perilous moment than it was. At this point, Trump is not just a Republican candidate, but effectively the presumptive president. If you're going to put him in jail, it had better be for a very serious crime that everyone agrees he committed. Otherwise, you risk destroying the system completely and forever. We're in legitimate danger. Democrats need to pull back. Another one from Tucker. Now, this has changed. As of this morning, the prosecution in the Trump Alvin Bragg prosecution are confirming that they are not opposed to an extension of the sentencing deadline because of these more recent developments. Trump's team said, we need more time on this. And they said, well, okay, maybe we will agree to that. So this is now fluid and dynamic. And as we've already talked about, we saw that Trump's defense articulated in the Bragg prosecution that they should hold off on the case, hold off on the trial until the appeal comes back down from the U.S. Supreme Court. The court said, nope, it's not appropriate because it's not even a colorable offense. It's not even close to being covered by presidential immunity. But they didn't apply the Supreme Court standards. They just applied Judge Mercan's standards. So that will also, I think, make it more difficult for them to jail Trump. I think now the underlying foundation of the criminal convictions is now even more rocky than it already was, which was very rocky, very precarious for them. So now the whole case is even more illegitimate. So now how are they going to put him in jail? But Tucker is right. We are in a precarious position because they're running out of options. They're freaking out everywhere we look. Tucker also confirmed with this one. He says, listen, you hear a bunch of this. All this nonsense you read about how, quote, only Biden can make the decision to leave is just so absurd, okay? That's not how the Democratic Party works. No individual is more important than the collective. That's the whole point of the party. And in Biden's specific case, he's got no constituency in Washington, okay? Yes, Ron Klain and the 85-year-old Ted Hoffman benefit directly from his president, but it's a small group. The rest of the city has no loyalty to Biden. They don't care about him. They've never taken him seriously. Any president works for them as long as he's a Democrat. It's never personal with these people because the individual doesn't matter. And I totally agree with that. I think that Joe Biden has always just been a placeholder, just a caricature of a Democrat, just this empty vessel that they just move from room to room. They've been doing it for years. We've seen Jill Biden like, move him. Over here, Joe. Over here, Joe. Barack Obama's like, pulling him apart over to bed. You did a nice job, Dr. Jill Biden. You said every word. You answered every question. You ate your whole plate of food. It's time for dessert. Good job, little Joe. So it's ridiculous. Tucker Carlson confirming that Joe has to go. And this is going to be a difficult one for him because if Joe goes, he is going to, gosh, go kicking and screaming, dragging the whole party down. And then who are they going to leapfrog over him? Kamala? Or who are they going to leapfrog over Kamala? They're going to put Newsom ahead of the first African-American woman in our country's history who could be the president. That's racist. All right, here's what Bill O'Reilly says. Here's a Biden update from BillO'Reilly.com. He said, the decision has been made that President Biden will quit the campaign. Two reasons. One, Democrat internal polling says he cannot recover from the debate, and fundraising is drying up. This is what we were really watching to see, is where's the money going? Where's the talent going? Are they all abandoning ship, right? If he can't fund himself anymore, then that just makes it an easy decision. It's just gone. There's no money. So campaign's over. So you got to give it to someone else. Where's the money going to go? Who's going to open the floodgates again? So that's what Bill O'Reilly says. And he got a community note. There's no evidence to support this claim. He says, well, it's over for Joe, but the White House doesn't know yet how or when to make the announcement. So he says, stay close. So I don't know what Bill knows, but he's been around for a long time, probably plugged into a lot of the same people some of the others are. So that's what is happening there. Now, on the counterpoint on this, are they going to get rid of Joe? Charlie Kirk grabbed this email over from Reid Hoffman, the same guy who was palling around with Jeffrey Epstein a bunch of times before he funded the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit against Donald Trump. Major Biden donor is going to stand by Joe. And again, I take these with a grain of salt, right? This might be the front-facing, public-facing spectacle. It's the cover story. But behind the scenes, they're doing the old switcheroo. Remember the Indiana Jones head, where they take the golden head and they put the bag of sand on there? You got to have the bag of sand ready to go before you take the head off. If you take the head off right now, you're going to get speared to death, right? The thing's going to come out all over the place. That big boulder is going to come rolling down. You're dead. So you've got to then have the bag of sand ready to go. And right now, what they're doing is they're just kind of weighing that sand. You're like, all right, put some more in here. Barack Obama's back there. They're just filling it up over there. And they're getting ready. If they just pulled the head off right now, they'd be like, Joe, we're done. Like, country's totally rudderless. We're all done for. We're all going to die. We're all liars. You busted us all. All that money, all those hundreds of millions of dollars that we gobbled up from you small donors and all that crap in the toilet. Thanks, though. Sorry. So they're not going to do that, right? They'll have a nice plan in place. And until that plan's in place, Joe's going to be amazing. And they're going to be front-facing, supporting him. So same thing from Reid Hoffman, who's one of the worst over there, funding a lot of this lawfare. Says, friends for truth and decency in the American way. I got a lot of emails. I got a lot of emails in the last 24 hours asking whether there should be a public campaign to pressure Biden to step aside after his, quote, very bad debate performance last night. He says it certainly delivered a blow to the mood among donors and organizers. And I think I saw some news articles that Rob Reiner was at one of these debate watch parties and someone else was there crying. And people were crying. They're, it's over. Trump's gonna win. Unfortunately, says Reid, people see Joe's age. They expressed through slower motion and speech and dementia more than Donald's age expressed through dementia. Okay, now in the debate exacerbated these concerns about Joe enough that many people saw these more than Trump's many lies. Yeah. Now I think such a campaign to get Biden to step down would be a bad idea for a few reasons. And so let's see if these carry logic behind them. Let's see if they only apply to Joe. All right. First, Joe is our nominee. Any decision to step aside is up to him and his family, period. Right. Tucker said nobody cares about that. And I agree with that. Like, they don't care. That's like a perspective of what? Honor? You're going to just say, well, he's earned it, so we're going to respect his decision. And you're going to lose the presidency and probably the Senate and maybe the House of Representatives to Trump and the Republicans. And you're just going to sit there, well, we had to let Joe decide. We had to. It's the right thing to do. Yeah, right. Are you kidding me? So you can write that off. If anything, a public effort might compel the Bidens to try to prove the doubters wrong. Joe's a resolute fighter after all. So I guess he's like, well, don't push him, because if you push him, then he's not going anywhere, right? Like, don't needle him too hard. Otherwise, he's going to dig his heels in. And second, last night's debate revealed nothing new. Not about Biden. I agree. Yeah, we already knew he was demented. Not about this race is dynamic or stakes. That's true, actually. Yeah, we said it at the end. It was like, it's pretty status quo. I mean, Joe Biden's been a giant catastrophe from the beginning, and his performance was about what we expected. So he says, I tuned into Biden's rally in North Carolina this afternoon. He was energized and brutally effective in taking down Trump's vitriol and lies. And he sends a link. Go watch it yourself. I wish we'd had that Biden last night, and that's the nature of Joe. When he does poorly, he tends to bounce back and then win. So this was just an aberration. Okay, so that's just a narrative play. And third, we should note how MAGA responded when Trump was convicted of 34 felonies by a unanimous jury of American citizens, which was brought by Joe Biden through Matthew Colangelo. Now, this is an attack that they could apply, I think, by any candidate. Okay, so which of these are only directly connected to Joe? Not many of them, just his debate performance, but they could hit, my point is they could hit Trump with a felony argument with any candidate. Doesn't have to be Joe. But he's saying, okay, here's what MAGA did. When they were under attack, they closed ranks. Because they understood at this stage of the race, they must spend every minute and dime either boosting their old man or tearing down ours. If we're musing on Biden's flaws, we're not organizing around Trump's flaws. And so just focus on the enemy. And fourth, most importantly, being a good president has little to do with being a good debater. Whether an American president succeeds ultimately depends on whether they've got the right values, instincts, patriotism, or courage. We have a fantastic team of leaders. Biden demonstrably meets both conditions. Trump is a narcissist. Okay. And fifth, and finally, above all, Joe Biden can win. See, this is the biggest one. He leaves it for the end. Can he win? Nobody cares about all this other nice stuff. Like, okay, a good leader, the only thing that matters is whether that leader can win or not. There's a lot of good leaders, many good leaders in America. They just can't win. Now, fifth and finally, all of the above means Joe Biden can very much still win. The fundamentals matter vastly more than a single debate. Perhaps the best historical analogy is from 1984. His first debate performance raised concerns about his age. He turned things around in the next debate and won the election in a landslide. So let's let the next debate come through, which will be in September. He says this election is very close. And I don't know who will win, but as a political philanthropist with 129 days until the election, I'm doubling down on my bet that America will choose Biden's decency, care, and proven success over Trump's violence, lies, and chaos. Violence. What a bunch of lunatics. All right, so that's Reid Hoffman. Now, again, a lot of this, I think, is a bit of a grasp. Joe Biden's not Ronald Reagan. Joe Biden comes out and crushes the next debate. I guess we'll be wrong on that. But Joe Biden is back in the bunker, man. He's not out and about at all. So they're keeping him under wraps, and rightfully so, because it's just been a disaster. But apparently some of the polls are showing that he's still kind of hanging on there for whatever reason. Here, this came out from Survey USA. Say here, majority of Democrats say Biden is still up to the job, remains on the ticket. Trump leads Biden only by 2 points, they say. So overthrow Joe? Most Dems say no, which is fine with me. I'm great with that. We've been saying that for a long time. That's fine, because nobody's going to believe it. 83% of likely voters who choose a candidate say they will definitely vote for that candidate. But here, Trump leads Biden by 2 points. 55% of likely Democrat voters say Biden should continue his run for a second term. 55%. Wow, not really good. Just barely half, over half. 34% say he should step aside, allow someone else to run. 10% aren't sure. Wow. If Biden does not step aside, 57% of likely Dems say the Democratic Party should nominate him to run at the DNC in August. 33% say they should nominate another one instead. 43%, if he is replaced, say Kamala should be next. And 16% choose Newsom, which is fine. Either one of those. I think that's right. This is American democracy in action, baby. Okay? Democrats should follow the will of the voters. 57% say, Joe, let's go. 55% continue to run. And if it's not Joe, it's Kamala. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take it. That sounds good to me. So there were some concerns that things are closer maybe than others would like to admit. Poll shows, this one over from WMUR, which is out of Manchester, New Hampshire, says a new survey shows a shift in favor of Joe. Look at this, 44 to 42% in New Hampshire. So as a new poll shows Biden trailing Trump by New Hampshire by just 2 points. I think people are saying, wow, it's even closer than we thought. Says, I think it's now conclusive that New Hampshire is really a competitive state in this election, and the results show a significant swing, which showed Biden up by at least 10 percentage points. Okay, so Trump's now up by 2, so it was a big swing. Wow, that's like a 12-point swing. Among voters who were aware of the debate, 54% said Trump won, while just 6% said Biden won. Oh my gosh, 6%. That is single digits. 39% said there was no winner. Those are all the Democrats who said that Trump won. Now, nobody won. Nobody won. Okay, yeah, right. The poll showed 81% of those who watched the debate said it won't affect their vote anyways. Well, I don't care anyways about debates. About talking is not important. Thinking is not really important in my candidate. So that's actually a bigger swing than I thought. So Trump is up by 2, which is a change from Biden being up plus 10. Wow, that's pretty shocking. So that's not good for Joe and the Democrats. So MAGA War Room clipped this one for us. Remember Carl Bernstein? He is an economic advisor who is going to be explaining some of his interactions with the president and how all this unfolded.
To bow out of the race and sharp rebuttals from his supporters. We have some new reporting from Carl Bernstein, CNN political analyst and author and legendary journalist. So, Carl, according to
not economic advisor, political journalist.
People you've been talking to, what are you hearing?
Well, these are people, several of them, who are very close to President Biden, who love him, have supported him, have been among them are some people who have raised a lot of money for him, and they are adamant that what we saw the other night, the Joe Biden we saw, is not a one-off, that there have been 15, 20 occasions in the last year and a half when the president has appeared somewhat as he did
almost
in that
every
horror
time he
show
talks.
We witnessed. And what's so significant is the people that this is coming from, and also how many people around the president are aware of such incidents, including some reporters, incidentally, who have witnessed some of them. But here we see tonight, as these people say, President Biden at his absolute best. And yet these people who have supported him, loved him, campaigned for him, see him often, say that in the last 6 months particularly, there has been a marked incidence of cognitive decline and physical infirmity.
What I wonder about is the people who were working with him at Camp David, allegedly in this intensive debate prep, if there were concerns there about this, and I don't know if you have got any word about that, but how anybody involved in that debate prep, didn't anybody see something was amiss?
The debate prep was supervised by Ron Klain, who has been with President Biden for many years, and people...
Anderson is such a liar, man. How come nobody noticed right there? Wouldn't they have figured it out? Anderson, it's been this way for 3 years, dude. What a ridiculous question. It's like before you go to a wedding, you try your pants on, and if they're a little short, you want to have enough time to make sure you can make some adjustments or something like that. I don't know why that analogy came into my head. But it's like having those pairs of pants for 3 years. and wearing them every day, and then suddenly saying, did nobody notice the pants are too short on you? All of a sudden, are you the most non-observant journalist of all time? Are they all? No, they're not. They're just liars, and they're all having to claw back their credibility because they spilled it out all over the highway.
I've talked to have all been to Ron Klain in the last year to say we have a problem. We have a problem such as we saw the other night, that there have been numerous instances where the president has lost his train of thought, can't pick it up again. There was a fundraiser at which he started at the podium, and then he became very stiff, according to the people there, as if it were almost a kind of rigor mortis.
This was reported allegedly in June of 2020.
This was June of, this was a year ago almost exactly, at the old Four Seasons restaurant on Park Avenue. And he became very stiff, and a chair had to be brought for him to do the latter part of the event.
Wild.
I think that what these folks are saying and have been saying for a while is, yes, he's great when we see him, as we have tonight, but he also has these inexplicable moments that we're very concerned about, and you, Ron Klain, and the First Family, we need to talk about this, and they've been pushed back repeatedly whenever it's been brought up.
And unexplainable, can't figure it out. Why is this happening? It's very confusing to everybody. So, very curious. That is from Bernstein, but Jake Tapper is also now lacing into Biden's own campaign over this. And so he's just going to go hard on this because he's feeling embarrassed. It's like in those video games, you know, when you get hit by an enemy and all your coins burst out of you, they go all over the place and you have to go like collect all your coins again. That's what happened with Jake Tapper's credibility. He got hit by Joe Biden and he got busted in front of all of America. All over the place. So now he has to go out every show and like claw some of that back. He's trying to recapture some of that credibility. Oh, there's some more for me. There's some more for me. And it's like, Jake, come on, man. You lost it all, dude. You have to start over, dude. You have no credibility. You got busted. So now we know.
I mean, he has given fewer press conferences, fewer interviews than any president in modern history, including the previous one, who's now running for re-election. You know, this could all be...
And the previous one told more lies per sentence than any candidate has ever told on a debate stage.
This is not the discussion that we're having. We could certainly, you know, have that conversation. I certainly didn't particularly care for it when President Biden said no U.S. service members had been killed in the previous 4 years. But moving on.
Yeah, and there's additions to that, right? It wasn't only the 13 service members in Afghanistan. We also had other members of the SEAL team, and others have passed away, and Joe Biden forgot about them too.
On from things that were said that were not true. I think it is easy to settle this right now by President Biden going to the Brady Press Center,
not gonna happen,
the press
Jake.
file in the White House, and doing a 2-hour press conference.
2 hours.
Everybody would cover it live. Networks probably would cover it live. He'd answer all these questions.
Yeah,
it's not a crazy thing to expect a president to do.
Oh, it is for this president there, Jake. Hello. You guys knew that way before you had this debate on. Come on.
And the fact is, you know that. The campaign knows that. The White House knows that. That's how you settle this. You just put him in front of reporters, and he handles himself with acuity, aplomb. We all see it was just a fluke. Oh, my God, I can't believe it happened. And we move on. The fact that you haven't done that says quite a bit to me.
Jake, what I've just said maybe 3 times in this interview is that is what I am urging and recommending.
Okay, so I guess we'll see if that happens. A 2-hour debate? Yeah, right. I hope they do. I hope they do. I'd love to see it, man. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope Joe Biden comes back out and he starts reciting Shakespeare for all of us. Wow, that's really profound. Amazing job, Joe. But the truth is, not going to happen. Their president is just gone, gone, gone. And Jake and all of these other people, they're trying to put their coins back in because they just got busted. They have no credibility left. They got caught lying to their audience because that's what they did for 3 years. Why did everybody else see this? But these journalists, the people who should be the most observant, the most astute, have the most crisp analysis and give us absolute interpretation of the reality we see around us. Why couldn't they figure it out? Why are they all shocked right now? Well, they're not. They were just liars. They were part of a narrative. Now, the real question is Tucker right? Is this going to be something where we have two movies on one screen, as we hear Scott Adams say all the time, that we have Barack Obama and the Democratic establishment standing behind Joe until they have an alternative in place. And then it's like that scene in that one movie where everything changes because they execute Order 66. So we're going to talk about that and continue our coverage here. We'll see if Tucker's right and how the White House and this problem continues to develop for them. We hope that you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for checking out our next video, which is coming up here. We'll look forward to seeing you over there and back here on the next one.